captured it really, really well, and yeah, you've put it all over in the scope of works, which is great. So refer to architectural door hardware schedule. So it's just one piece of information that we'll just have to go and find and have a look at to make sure we're capturing everything as it should be in the door hardware schedule. I believe you captured that in here. If you didn't, it's just something that we will need to make sure. So you did, you've captured it down here, which is great. So as long as you are highlighting to us that we need to do that, so allow to provide both standard security cable and category 6 cable to all card reader and biometric hand scanner locations. So as long as you're including that somewhere, then that's great. We'll figure out how we capture that and what we how we explain it if we're going to. All right, so you've captured everything from here. You've done everything. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, ILAM, so it's mentioning intelligence. It's got the part numbers here, which will really help when you're starting to build. You can see exactly what parts relate to, part numbers. This is actually contradicting itself. That inception controller is a completely separate system. So that's actually can become quite confusing. And then when you come into lift door access, so now we've got standard LAN access module. So there's the SLAM I was talking about. So now we're talking about non-intelligent controllers. So yeah, it's just highlighting that specifications can be very, very contradicting and quite confusing. But it's just about trying to take as much information out that we think is relevant, trying to then reference that information that we're finding and referencing against other documentation, and trying to put together the best understanding of all of the information together when we put our tender forward. The tenders aren't always going to be perfect. I'll just say that, quite clearly. So, now we're going over to general door controller, and it's back to the standard LAN access module. So this is, we just need to do as much as we possibly can to pull all of this information out and push that across into our tender submission. And if there's any information that we think is contradicting, like this is a great example. Existing intruder detection system is TCOM Challenger V8. So TCOM Challenger is a different system to Integrity. So it's showing you that sometimes you can't trust all the information that's in the specification, and it is about referencing all of the documentation together. The fact that so the existing system is PACOM, located within the Northern Communications Room. The fact that they've mentioned the Northern Communications Room gives me confidence that that statement is true. And it's not just another copy-paste similar to the TCOM Challenger V8. And that's because Northern Communications Room, so there is a Northern Communications Room, and there they're talking about the Northern Communications Room. So I'm quite confident that that piece of information, so the PACOM information, is correct. And then another PACOM MBR community centre. So you can see that on the drawing, there's the community centre. I'm quite confident that that statement there around the PACOM system is correct. Cat 6A cabling. So allow for 3 meters of cable slack at both ends. So it's just something that we need to make sure we're taking into consideration, is we need to allow for 6 meters additional cable length. So if we're running on 50 meter averages, we'd have to use 56 meter averages. So we'd probably round up to 60 meters when we're actually building it, just to make sure that we do have all of the cable required. In here, I'm looking for stuff like this. So, manufacturers' part numbers and resolution for cameras. So 2 megapixel, 6 megapixel, 4 megapixel, 1080p, 4K, those kind of words. That's what I'm looking for under these areas. Under intruder alarm, I'm looking for PIR information. So whether they're talking about mirror optics or anti-masking, just sorts of little specific piece of information that we'll have to include when we're selecting the parts and as we build the system over in Simpro. So none of this looks really relevant to us. Still talking about power. And we're down to light switches, so confident that we've gone past the security information. Do a next. So security access controls full functional test. This is part of our testing and commissioning, so that's fine. We do that as a standard anyway. Just there's some training. There's more on testing, I believe. Let me scroll up. Yep, so testing commissioning, that's fine. So it's just making sure that we're going to provide testing commissioning tests and documentation as well, which we do as a standard. So not something that we have to include as a something that to highlight. We do all of our testing and commissioning information as a standard process within Culprit. So that's not something that we would have to actually highlight within the scope of works. Training. It doesn't look like there's any training required for security. Construction phase. It's just saying like shop drawings. We need to make sure that our shop drawings are including this type of information. Excuse my search again. And you can see there that there's nothing listed, so quite comfortable. This is going back to the start. So the next thing that I'm going to search for quickly is communications, because I have noticed that there is there's Cat6a. So to explain cabling, depending on how they're structuring this, potentially will be an extended or long warranty on the telecommunications system or the communications data cabling. So what I'm looking for now is an understanding of whether there's a vendor warranty required for the Cat6a cabling, and if there is, I will exclude the communications. So when I say communications, I'll exclude the CCTV cabling if it forms part of the telecommunications or the communications package. So we're just going to read through this information. I'm just reading here. I'm looking for any branding or manufacturers. So in accordance with ACMA requirements, block or orange, we carry out both. So it's fine. Cat6a, so that's we've got that noted. That's excellent. This is just all going through making sure that the cabling, if when you're doing telecommunications cabling or data cabling, that it's going to be in compliance with the Australian Cabling Manufacturers Association requirements. So it's just stating that cables are not stressed during installation. There's the changes in the cable paths are smooth. So this is just pretty standard information. It's talking about existing communications to retain and reuse. So there's no requirement for communications. Collingwood Football Club is going to provide the one in the clinic communications room. So there's no requirement here for adding in communications cabinets, so we don't have to include that. And 0.31. Passive communication equipment, including cabling cabinets, patch panels, outlets, patch leads, and equipment shall have a minimum 20-year warranty. So we cannot, because we're not vendor certified with a community or a data cabling manufacturer, we can't offer a 20-year warranty. So the Cat 6A for CCTV, we will likely exclude from our submission. So all of that hard work that you put into making sure you captured all of the future CCTV points will not go unrewarded, but it's, for the moment, we're going to exclude that, and we'll include it later if they request us to include it. But all of those proposed CCTV points will be included at a later date. It looks like there's a lot more future points than there is or points to be done as part of these works. So that'll be quite a large part of a different project, I'm going to assume. So based on all of that, that's typically everything that I'd be looking for in an electrical specification and what I'm looking for when I go to those areas. So I hope that that's been helpful. And if you've got any questions, as always, just give me a call or send me a message.